characterized by the environment, which will be characterized by the people surrounding that person at that particular time, which might be characterized here also by the things which that person is doing at that particular moment. So different mood swings, they might be triggers. These triggers might make this person to have a mood which will in turn be either physical or psychological. If it's physical, they might end up fighting or yelling. If it's psychological, others they might keep quiet, others they might scream, because the moods determine the actions which you're going to do, and the actions will be determined by the thoughts and the thinking which comes through your mind. Then the other one is thoughts and memories. There are some good memories which we tend to keep. There are some bad memories which we tend to forget. The good memories make us smile. The good memories make us feel good about ourselves. Then we have the thoughts. We have positive thoughts. We have negative thoughts. They also make us feel either good or they make us feel bad. So it's all about what you process, the things that you feed your mind, then how you process it will determine the output, and the output will determine your action towards people, your actions towards people around you, towards other things around you, because it's all about the processing. We call it information processing. How do you process your information? How do you utilize your information in a positive way? How do you utilize the information in a negative way? What are the repercussions and what are the consequences of you processing informations which are coming in every minute, every second, and the brain as the central place needs to sort out this information, align them with whatever you are thinking, put them into action, and then your actions will make you do things which might be either good or bad. Thoughts, memories. Remember when we were talking about introduction to mental health, it was all about the thinking, the cognitive, it was all about the feelings, the emotions, and it was all about the actions. How you feel and how you think will determine the actions in which you're going to take. Then there's some people they hear voices. There's some people they hear voices like hallucinations. They hear voices because they have been exposed. The time, the duration of exposure to a certain type of things which does not go right in his life will make him hear voices which most of the time these voices are imaginary. They are imaginary voices. This is due to exposure. This is due to exposure to that particular kind of problem. So they'll hear imaginary voices going around the head. This individual might decide either to follow that voice or not to follow that voice. It's all depend on that individual, on the processing, on the thoughts, on the behaviors, on the actions in which he will take at that particular moment. It also depend on the situation. It will also depend on the environment. It will depend on the stressors and the triggers. The voices will play a vital role. We are moving to slide number 9. Still, we are under the early warning signs. Remember, this one is introduction to mental health. Introduction to mental health during COVID-19 pandemic. So, other early warning signs, some people think about harming themselves or others because they don't have the sense of what you call self-worth. They see themselves as worthless. Remember the other signs we talked about, helplessness or hopelessness. So they feel they cannot add any value to anyone. They feel they cannot add any value to anyone. So they need to think and process information in the right way in order for them to feel or to have a positive life. So they think about harming themselves or others. Then another point, I can see there's a hand which has been raised up, Kasei. Hello. Then another one, we have inability to perform daily tasks like taking care of the kids. These people, they find it very difficult to take the daily tasks because their mentation has been disturbed. So they need to look at the thoughts, they need to look at the processes, they need to look at a lot of things in order for them to work in a positive way. So those ones were all about the early warning signs of mental health problems. Now let's talk about the mental health and wellness. What are the things which we need to look in order for us to be mentally healthy? What are the things which will make us function in a normal way? What are the things which will make us function in a way which is acceptable in the society, which is acceptable in the community, which is acceptable in the family? Because the family is the basic unit. The family is the basic unit in the society, because from the family you move to society, then you move to the community. So how do we keep our mentation or our mental health, and how do we keep ourselves positive? So one, in order for us to have a positive mental health, it allows people to realize their full potential. Look at these trying moments. People have come up with different initiatives. People are doing things which they thought they were unable to do. This is because of the trying moments. They are doing things which they felt they were not able to do at any particular time. So people have come up with new hobbies. People have come up with new things in which they can do at their own free time. Remember, during this time, we have a lot of time with us. So when your mental health is in the right way, it means you can realize your full potential, your capabilities, your capacities, the things which you can do, the things which you can do when you have people around, the things which you can do when you are alone, the things which you can do when you are with your friends who might encourage you to continue doing it either as a hobby, or you can do it as a part-time job or a full-time job. So people realize their full-time potential or their full potential. Another thing, people will be able to cope with stresses of life. People will be able to cope with stresses of life. We have different types of stress. We have the normal stresses of life, we call them normative stressors. We have other stresses which, when prolonged over a period of time, will lead to burnout. When it leads to burnout, then it will lead to what we call depression. Depression might take 2 weeks, depression might take months, others might take years, because depression might hinder depression might hinder the way you communicate, the way you relate with other people, the way you carry yourself, the way you portray yourself. So people have different ways in which they can cope with different stresses of life. So how do we do it? By having good, positive thoughts, by having good information processing systems, by having good relationship with your neighbors and family, by having good communication skills, by having high self-esteem, feeling good about yourself, good informations, good processes, being in a place where you feel appreciated, appreciating people, and staying with people on a good note. Another one is, when you have positive mental health, you'll be able to work productively. When you have positive mental health, you'll be able to work productively. The output will be increased. The input, you'll be working towards increasing the capacity. So the output will be in such a way that you can see that there is evidence of something which you have done in a positive way, something which you can have referencing, because mentally upstairs you are good. The things which are going on through your mind, they are processed in the right way and they are kept in line with whatever you're feeling at that particular moment. Another thing which makes you to have positive mental health is having meaningful contribution to the community. Meaningful contribution to the community. You'll be able to contribute in a way that the society will appreciate your actions, the family will appreciate whatever you're doing, the community will see your outcomes. They will see the things which you're doing will impact the society, will impact the community in a positive way. This is due to the positive energy which you have, to the positive information, the positive thinking processes, the actions, the feelings. Then we are on slide number 12. We are still talking about how to maintain or to have good mental health. Another one is getting professional help if you need it. And then the other one is it's all about connecting with others. I'll talk about professional help for a moment because most people, they feel they cannot get professional help because they'll be labeled. There's a lot of stigma. If you contact a psychological counselor or a psychiatrist or a psychologist, people might think that you're having other mental issues or other mental conditions which cannot be treated in a normal setup within a health facility or in a medical facility. So there are some people, they fear most of the time to get professional help. Most of the time they fear to get professional help. So I'll urge people to get professional help. You don't need to fear, because at one particular moment it will be able to assist you to have good, positive mental health. So another thing is connecting with others, which I've talked earlier. And then we have staying positive most of the time. And then we have getting physically active, getting some exercise. You take a walk, you take jogging, you do some few things here and there. I understand right now most of the gyms are closed, but you can do the small physical exercises within your compound, within the house, within your workplaces, so that you stimulate your brain, you stimulate how you're going to act in terms of feelings, in terms of information processing, and in terms of action. And in terms of action. Then another thing which might make you have good positive mental health is helping others. If you have the time, if you have the resources, if you have anything which you feel you might help another person who is in need, kindly do so. It makes you feel good. By sharing whatever you have at a particular moment, it makes you feel good and also boost your mental health. Then another thing is getting enough sleep. You need to have an 8 hours sleep. Within a day, we have 24 hours. 8 hours working, 8 hours sleeping. The other 8 hours, you can decide the things which might do or make you be active. So you need to get enough sleep between 6 to 8 hours. I know the others, they sleep up to 5 hours, maybe due to nature or where they are staying or the nature of the work. They get limited sleep. So you need to have enough sleep in order to boost your mental health. Another thing is having coping skills. Is having coping skills. Coping skills is a session on its own. It can take 1 or 2 hours. People have different ways in which they can cope. Different individuals have different abilities, they have different skills on how they cope with stresses of life, on how they go about the daily stresses of life. So different people have different coping skills. They have different coping mechanisms. They have different ways in what we call locus of control, either internal or external, things which might hinder or control how you cope with daily stresses of life. We call them coping skills or coping mechanism. I have come towards the end of my presentation, unless if you have any questions. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for giving me your time to do the presentation. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you very much, Zedekiah, for that wonderful presentation. We are now in the question and answer session where we are going to allow a few questions from the members. But before they do that, we have questions that were already asked that we may want you to maybe respond to in a brief way. We'll start with one question which was raised by Ken. Ken, you are here. Maybe you could raise the question yourself so that Ken?
Okanga.
Yes.
Yeah, my question was on Africanization of mental health because I think most of the literature and research is based on Western culture and mostly Western things. So I mean, in regard to the African society, whereby there are roles and expectations for men and women, how do we integrate mental health? At what time do you say that a man has depression or a man is still a man, as an African man? I mean, is there any way that we've integrated Africanization into mental health?
Zedekiah, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much for that question. I believe of the most of the literature usually comes from the Western Africa or Western countries, European countries, which you find that due to colonization, we have been conditioned to get information from the West. But we have people with experiences within Kenya, within East Africa. They are there. We have papers, we have abstracts which have been published. They can be presented for you to see so that you can understand that mental health is here with us in Kenya, in Mombasa, in Nairobi, and any other major cities. So we have publications which are based on research which were done in East Africa and Kenya. They are available, and we have people with abstract and papers. So it's not all about the Western countries and the things which come from outside the country. We have ones for East Africa.
Okay, Ken, you have a follow-up question?
Well, I don't know. I'm still, by the aspect on Africanization is not really about the research, but I mean, I'm talking about, practical matters. How do we handle, like practically on the ground, not really about research. No, education, there are many people which have been written, but then if I go back to the village and I find my uncle who is depressed and all that, how do we draw the line? I don't know whether you can get me, or it's something that
Yes.
maybe we should think about and work on.
Yes, I'm getting you, and maybe Zedekiah will respond to that. Zedekiah, I think Ken is talking about we are Africans and we have our own culture. So if you are in the village, you are supposed to be the strong man. So when does the strongmanship end? So that then you can seek for help. So maybe you can quickly.
Okay, thank you very much, Ken, for that question. There are three things which might hinder how you behave, especially for men in African setup. We call it TAS, Traditional African Society. We have what we call economic class. The second one is social, and the third one is cultural. If we combine these things, we call them social, cultural, economics. So under social-cultural economics, the way you are brought up as a boy to be a man is different from the way a girl is being brought up as a woman. In an African culture setting, traditionally, people tend to tell men, you should not cry, you should not grieve, you should not express the things which go within your life, especially in a negative way. So these are things which are being planted as you grow up. As you grow up, you know that I'm not supposed to cry, I'm not supposed to do this, I'm not supposed to do this, I should be a man. But inside, there's something which is harming you. So how do you go about it? That's why you find most cases of GBV or gender-based violence are either caused by men or due to other underlying factors because of how these people they were brought up culturally and how the society also perceives men should not cry, men should not do one or two. But in real sense, men, if men cry, it's okay.
Mhm.
If you're a man and you protect your feelings and emotion, it's also okay. You
Mhm.
should not hold your feelings. You should not hold your emotions. You should not hold your anger. Just let it out. Share. Talk to someone. But because of the societal factors, how will people see me? And because of also cultural factors, maybe in our culture, as a man, I'm supposed to do one and two. So if I do the other way around, contrary to how the culture has brought me up, you feel you're losing the things which makes you to be a man. By crying doesn't mean you're not a man. By having feelings which are negative or positive does not mean you're not also a man. You're a man. The things which goes through you, either in terms of actions, feelings, or thoughts, or behavior. So these things usually people they hold it, and you find if you hold it for a longer period of time, and you find nowhere where you can empty it or share it, then you can do things which you are not planning to do. That's where we have fights, we have breakups, we have communication breakdown. So it's all about the culture. Some cultures, they have been there for a longer period of time. Some cultures, they have been there due to the tribes. Some cultures have been there due to the ethnicity, due to the location or the geographical place of a country. So now we need to think and adopt other ways in where we can express our feelings, we can express our emotions, we can portray our behaviors, which will build us up.
Mhm.
So for men, it is okay to cry. It is okay to share what you're going through. It is okay to talk about things which makes you feel happy, things which makes you feel sad. For women, it's different because most of the time they talk about issues. They have chamas. They have a place where they can meet in a social gathering or setup where they discuss things over. The more they discuss, the more they feel relieved. For men, it's different. The meeting place for men is different. They meet in a social gathering where they can take drinks, they can smoke, they can look at things which make them feel nice, but they rarely discuss issues or matters concerning their family, matters concerning relationship, matters concerning how they are going to stay with the people around, how they're going to stay with the community, families, and the people who makes them be where they are. I believe up to there I have answered your question. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Zedekiah. Next, we go to Mary. Mary had a question. Maybe you could ask it directly, Mary.
Yeah,
Mary Muteti.
yeah, thank you so much. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question is sometimes these guys just decide because they don't want to share what they are feeling, they don't want to involve anyone. And it becomes very hard to handle them because if someone locks up, they don't want to eat, they don't want to talk. It becomes also a burden to the relatives or the person who is supposed to take care of them. So if you don't want to worsen the situation, what is the best way to handle this?
Okay, Mary Muteti.
Yes.
Kindly refresh and give me a summary of your question.
Okay, let me just make it simple. when someone is mentally disturbed, some people tend to just withdraw. Yeah, I think that is the right word. They tend to withdraw. They don't want to share their feelings. They don't want to say what the problem is. And it becomes extremely very hard to get through them. So if I want to help such a person, how best can I do it without worsening the situation?
Okay, thank you for that question. So the first thing you need to identify and know that this person is undergoing mental health problem. And from the presentation, you have seen the early signs. I believe from whatever you're asking, you have already noted the early signs, which they usually present themselves gradually with time.
Yes. Mm.
So after noting those early signs,
Mm.
are you willing to help this person? Is this person willing to be helped? That is the first step.
Mm.
Is this person approachable? Is he willing to be approached? Is he willing to approach another person to share the experience or the things which is undergoing through his life?
Mm.
So in order to assist this person, it's all about the acceptance of the individual who is undergoing that mental health problem. If that person has not accepted himself to be helped,
Yeah.
then definitely it will be very difficult for you to assist. Because if you try to assist, you'll feel like you're trying to infringe his or her private life issues without allowing you to have such an act or such moments.
True, true. It has to come from them first.
Yes, yes. They need to talk about it. They need to explain. They need to express. They need to tell you I'm undergoing 1, 2, 3. For
Yeah.
men, it is always it's difficult. For women, it's easy
Mm.
because they live with emotions. There are
Yeah.
some emotions they can handle as women.
Mm.
They quickly share and they
Yeah.
feel good. For men, they stay with it over a period of time, days, weeks, months. They need to be pressed. And it depends how you press this person. You might press this person in a way that makes him feel bad and have an outburst. And then this person might be aggressive. Why? Because the way you are pressing this person to get information was in a different way, in which the interpretation this person did was in a negative way, which means he had to do some actions in order to compensate the thoughts and the feelings which you have either provoked in a negative or a positive way.
True. Thank you. Thank you, Zedekiah.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Bowman Onyango.
Thank you, Mr. Zedi, for giving me this opportunity. Well, I got a few questions here. Maybe you'll just note them down, and then at the end you will respond to them appropriately. The first one, actually, you've already touched a little bit when answering my fellow who just exited, which was on the approaching the mental disturbed person. So my full question was, well, approaching a mentally ill person during an emergency, let's say a suicidal emergency. So how do you approach that person? Then my second question will be, well, I've already learned a lot from the mental health well-being or wellness, and I've also learned on the persistent thoughts. We find that is one of the symptoms. So I would like either to get a clear clarification between persistent thoughts and instincts. Do we have difference between the two? Or do we have good instincts or do we have bad instincts? And if we have bad instincts, do we consider that under persistent thought or something or on somebody? Then my third question is, well, can someone be born with mental disorder or mental illness? Let's say start seeing someone with anger problems or either anger, developing anger at early stages. And if not, Then at what early stage can mental illness begin developing in someone or somebody or a human being? Those are my few questions. If I'm not clear on any, then you can answer, then I'll put it clear once again.
Thank you, Bowman. Zedekiah, you can go ahead.
Let me read through the questions so that you can clarify, Bowman. The first one is all about the approach between mental disturbed person and the suicidal thoughts. That is the first question. The other one is about persistent thoughts and instincts. That is the second one. And the third one is about a mental disorder or illness, whether it's inborn or acquired. Kindly confirm, Bowman.
Yeah, those three confirmed. Then the last one.
Okay. The last one, I have 3 questions.
Oh, sorry, the last one was at what early stage can someone develop mental illness? Let's say if someone is not, if it is not inborn situation.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll start with the first one. How to approach a mental disturbed person. The approach will be determined by the kind of relationship which you have between you and the person who is mentally disturbed. What kind of relationship you have between you and that person? Do you know him on a personal level as family? Do you know him as a friend? Do you know him as a neighbor? Do you know him as a co-worker? Or do you know him as a fellow employee? The first thing is relationship. The type of relationship we'll have with the mentally disturbed person or the person who's having a mental health problem will determine how this person will accept you in terms of assistance. So the first thing is to look at the relationship. What type of relationship do you have? Are you a neighbor? Are you a doctor? Are you a nurse? What type of relationship? Then you move to the approach. When you take them to the professionals, there's something which you call MSE, mental status examination. It usually takes few minutes to few seconds by just observing. You get to know that this person is having a mental health problem. The physical appearance, the kind of words this person is speaking, and how this person is behaving. So what is most important while approaching a mentally health person who is disturbed in a negative way is to know the relationship and to use that relationship in a way in order for you to assist this person, to be close to this person. You need to choose the right kind of words to use at that particular moment, because most of the people who have mental health problem, they are in denial. They deny a lot. When you tell them you have a no, I don't have a problem. Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. Can I help you? No, I think you cannot help me. You see, so you need to have a good approach. You can either go directly or indirect, and you have to be very careful with the kinds and types of words which you use at that particular moment. You need to select good words. You need also to have good actions which suggest that you have accepted this person in such a way that this person, the way he is, you have accepted him so that he might be open to you. We call it UPR, unconditional positive regard. The way you are, I'll accept you. The way you are, I'll listen to you. The way you are, I'll be able to approach you. The way you are, anything you talk about it or you talk about something, I'll accept and listen. I'll give you a lending ear. Then that makes a good relationship between the person who is undergoing the mental health and the person who wants to assist. Communication and relationship. Communication is all about the words. Relationship is all about how you relate with this person who's undergoing the mental health problem. So that one is for question 1. That one is for question 1. Then question 2, we have talked about the thoughts. We have what we call suicidal thoughts, or in a professional way, we have what we call suicidal tendencies. A tendency is something which comes over a period of time with breaks or intervals. So there are some people, they have what we call suicidal tendency. They live a life whereby they feel at this particular time or this particular day of the week, I feel I can no longer handle my stress. Then certain thoughts come in, negative thoughts. The things which you feed your brain and how you process it will determine your actions. That's why some people, the thoughts in which they have, they feel I need to hang myself. I need to jump over the bridge. I need to jump in the water to drown. It's all about the tendencies. How often does this person have these thoughts? What are the triggers? The environment, people, kind of work, relationship, communication. They'll trigger the thoughts. So the thoughts, once they're being triggered, it depends how they process, either in a negative way or a positive way. Then another thing, the support system. Who are the people around that person who makes him feel wanted, who makes them feel good, will make this person have good, positive thoughts. So if you have people who are not supporting this person, then he end up killing himself. Like what is happening? Somebody says, I will kill myself. They say, you just do it. People want to kill themselves, they never talk. That's another fuel of making this person to kill himself. The thoughts, the people around, the environment. It will determine the kind of thoughts this person will process. The stresses, the daily stresses of life, the actions, the activities, things this person will do during the day, day of the week of the month, the recurring activities, and other new activities. Then you have responsibilities. These people might feel burdened by the daily actions or the daily things in their life. Then certain thoughts come in because they cannot afford to find something which will sustain them as a family or individual, which they make them keep them alive. So these people have those thoughts. They'll keep on coming. They'll keep on coming. The more they keep on coming, we call them tendencies. They come, they go. They have an interval in between. They keep on coming. So this person need to think in a way which is positive. They need to have activities which make them feel good, make them have different thoughts which are away from the negative ones. So these people, they need to get much support from the people who are very close to them, the family members, either nuclear or extended, the co-workers, the employees, the supervisors, the managers, neighbors, everyone around will make you feel good, even if they cannot contribute financially or in other kind of material, but how they appreciate your presence at that particular environment and at that particular moment will make you have good positive thoughts, process them in a good way, and have a good feeling about yourself, which in turn will raise how you feel, which we call it self-esteem. Good self-esteem, you feel good about yourself. Bad self-esteem, you feel bad about yourself. So that one is for question 2. I think I've answered it. Question 3, it's all about the mental disorder and illness. From my presentation, we have talked about factors contributing to mental health. One of them was biological or the genes. Biological means this might be a congenital disease or congenital things which goes through the unborn child while inside the womb of the mother. There's some children are born, they cannot reason properly, they have delayed speech, they have delayed development as a normal child, because these are the people or the people who are carrying that child during a pregnancy, they are having other things which affect the unborn baby. We have seen families with children who are born, they cannot process thoughts properly. They cannot do action in the right way. They have different ways of doing things in abnormal way according to the society. It's all about the genes, it's all about the biological factors, it's all about the chromosomes, it's all about the pregnancy period between the first month and the 9 months, the first 3 months, the second 3 months, and the last 3 months, the trimesters. The substance this mother is taking during the pregnancy. Then other thing might be the physical abuse. Maybe this mother is having physical abuse during the relationship or when he's having pregnancy. The other things is also emotional abuse. They affect the developmental of the fetus, which will determine the outcome of this baby during during birth. So pregnancy plays a big role. The genes and other medical conditions will determine if this person will be mentally stable or mentally unstable. So remember, biological is one of the factors which might cause mental health problem. So there are people who are born with a mental health problem. There are people who acquire due to the exposure, due to the environment. Maybe they had an accident which interfered with their head, and then it also interfered with the brain. Then these people will have bad mental health. Maybe they are having experiences which affect their thinking, which affects their thoughts, which affects their feelings, which will affect their behaviors. Then mentally they become unstable and they end up doing things which are not right in the society. Most of the mad people we see around, if you follow them, you might find them they were born like any other normal child. Along the way, while they were developing, something came in between and disturbed their mind, either in form of experiences, in form of actions, in form of events happening in their lives. So that one is for question 3. Mental disorder can be an illness, either acquired or you can be born with it. And then you go to the fourth one. I think the fourth one with the third one, they might be the same, because it talks about the stage. At which particular stage do you have mental health problem? Mental health problem does not have any stage. At any stage of life, you can acquire mental health problem. Mental health problem does not have age. It does not have a specific particular group of people. Mental health can affect anyone. It can affect an infant. It can affect a baby, a child, adolescent. It can affect a woman or a man at any particular age or any developmental stages in their life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zedekiah, for that a good response. Bowman, I'm hoping that at least you are satisfied to some extent. So next we have Mercy. I don't know if she's still with us. She's not. Eric, I mean not Eric, Edwin Lehanda, you are next. Yes, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself. Okay.
Oh, I've been muted already. Okay, greetings from Edwin here.
Greetings to you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, all right. So my first question to the Zedekiah Oduma is, when it comes to mental wellness, you've said we need to stay positive. And sometimes in our Telegram platform, you tend to say the negative side of life acts as a balance of life. So can you kindly share some insight about that? That is question 1. Question 2, so for instance, say I've lost a friend who committed suicide. So what is the future? Is there something that can be done to the family? Or rather say, you know, I hope you're getting the question. What is the way, the moving forward to the affected families? For instance, say a family whose son has committed suicide. Are there like a post arrangement for particular such kind of family? I think those are the 2 questions I have for you.
Thank you, Edwin. Zedekiah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edwin, for the 2 questions. You have talked about the first one is negative things happening in our lives.
Yeah.
So when you have negative things happen in your life, they present you with opportunities to overcome to overcome whatever you're having at that particular moment. Because if you have a crisis provides an opportunity for you to think about ways in which you can overcome. For example, like now we have COVID-19. It's a crisis, it's a pandemic. COVID-19 has brought about people coming with different ways of communicating, different ways of passing message, different ways of doing things in certain way that things run in a normal way in which they are supposed to be. So anything negative in your life, it has a reason. Anything negative in your life makes you to think broadly. It makes you also to have experience which, according to the person who is undergoing, might not want to have a repeat. And why don't you have to have a repeat? Because whatever you have been exposed as a negative effect, you'll try as much as possible to have opportunities and avenues to see that you overcome it. The process of having those opportunities, the process of having those avenues will make you strong and know that whenever you have this particular type of problem, this is the way you're supposed to handle. So that when it happens to you or it happens to another person, you'll be able to assist. When it comes back to you again, you'll be able to monitor and look it from a different angle. You'll have ample time to prepare yourself. So the negativity in life will prepare you to have avenues, will prepare you to have opportunities, will prepare you to think critically about the problems, will give you different opinions, different thoughts, different feelings, which were not there while you're having the positive moments in your life, and that will make you even strong and be able to face on the challenge. So that one is for question one. I believe I've answered your question one.
Yeah.
Question two,
Two.
you're talking
Yeah.
about a family whom they had a member who had committed suicide.
Yeah.
Now, a family who has a member who has committed suicide, we have what we call trauma. Under trauma, we have what we call PTSD, post-trauma stress debriefing, which must be done within, if possible, 24 hours or 72 hours, while it is still fresh, so that people can talk about it, they can express their emotions, they can express their feelings, they can discuss openly, so that they can relieve the pressure. The longer it stays, the longer they'll hold on the thoughts, they'll hold on the feelings, they'll hold on the behavior. At the long run, when you talk about it after those 72 hours, then it won't be of much weight and importance. So these people, they need a session. And this session will fall under what we call loss and grief. Loss and grief is not all about life. Sometimes you might lose something which is very much precious in your life, something which you are depending on it. When you lost it, then that's when you call it a loss. When you think about it in a negative way, or you think about it over time that you don't have it, we call it grief. And grieving it has 5 processes. We have 5 processes of grieving. We'll talk about it in a later session, about loss and grief. So these people, they need to undergo the PTSD, post-trauma state debriefing, which should be done within 72 hours after the event. So they need to organize to find a psychological counselor or a psychologist to sit with them, talk with them, let them feel free, open up. We have a theory which is known as free association, whereby you talk about anything which comes in your mind. You be free, you associate yourself with others. Free association. Anything which flows in your mind, you just talk about it. It makes you lower your burden, it makes you empty the heaviness which you have within your body, and it makes you feel good. So to that family, they need to undergo those sessions in order for them to have a right mental health, in order for them to have clear mind, in order for them to ease that pain, and in order for them to go back to the society in a normal way. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
So thank you very much, Zedekiah. I'm really much enjoying the presentation and your responses. There is someone called iPhone. I can't really get their name, but they have asked a question. What's the difference between stress and mental health? So maybe you could respond to that.
Thank you very much, Bono Kanga. Mental health is an umbrella. It's a broad term which caters things undergoing through people's life. So we call it mental health. It's a broad term. There are some disorders, there's some anxieties, there's some disease, and there's some behavioral factors inside mental health. Stress is a specific condition inside mental health. So mental health is a broader term. Stress is a condition. In simple terms, it's like topic and subtopic. Topic, mental health. Subtopic, stress. So those are two different terms. One is broader and the other one is specific. The other one is specific.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Members, we are coming to the end. So if there is anyone with a burning question, they could raise their hand up. Is there anyone? Someone has raised their hand, then it's down. I didn't get who it was. It's Joseph. Joseph, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Okanga, and thank you, Mr. Zedekiah. The PPT is very much well presented, and it has much guidance, especially in this time. Now, direct to the question. There is one slide you spoke, addressing Zedekiah. You spoke about contributing factors of mental health problems. Biological factors such as genes or brain chemistry. Could you please expound more on the genetic and the brain chemistry scenarios, please?
Okay, thank you very much. I believe from the topic of today's presentation, it's an introduction. So when you talk about the genetics and the biological conditions which contribute to mental health, we go much deeper. So in a nutshell, biological is what you acquire from your parents. Remember we have the chromosomes. Remember we have the X and Y. Remember we have the 46 chromosomes, how they come and merge, the zygote, the formation and developmental of the fetus from day 1 up to 9 months. The developmental of that fetus, we have chemicals which are being used in order for the fetus to be strong, in order for the fetus to be developed and become a baby during birth. So those chemicals might have imbalance because while this baby is forming, different parts of the body, there are some different cells which are used to form those parts while the baby is still in the mother's womb, the fetus. So different fetal stages will determine how this baby will come out. There are some stages might not be complete in terms of formation of the brain, because when this child is coming up, there are some cells which deals with the legs, the head, the arms, abdomen. So during that process, the chemicals which are used and the process which take place in order to form that brain and the head, there might be alterations or things which might not work properly in order for this person to be a fully fledged infant. So what happens? The fetal stages will be disturbed and will make this person not have a good mentation. And while this child will be born, what happens next? Will be born with a mental health problem. So different stages of fetal development fetal is the most basic in which I can explain without going in using the terminologies and the chemicals and the rest. It's all about the forming stages, the different stages of fetal and how they are formed while they're inside the womb. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zedekiah, for that. We have Taras who has raised up their hand. So please, Taras, go ahead.
Okay. Hello, hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Mine was about the question about genes. I'm seeing everyone has asked about that. So I was wondering, does it mean that in the course of the life stage of these newborn fetus now, so will we control this, or we just apply these are positive mental health solutions that Zedekiah had given earlier on. So I don't know if we apply the same, or do they go away on their own? I don't know.
Zedekiah?
Kindly reframe your question so that I can understand.
My question was about the genes, the effect of mental health on the fetus, or on the baby being born. So at what point can this baby or this child be okay, or will apply the positive mental health solutions that you gave us earlier on? Will the baby be affected for a long while, or what happens?
So
Okay, thank you very much, Taras.
please go ahead, Zedekiah.
Talking about the genes,
Yes.
mostly which is biological, it's all about the chromosomes, it's all about the fetal stages, it's all about the childbirth of the infant. While this infant is growing, people will notice the things which are not okay, because once a child is born, there are some things he's supposed to do. For example, hearing, for example, producing sounds, smell, touch, and taste. If these things are not working in a proper way, the five senses, the actions and the behavior of an infant, you can easily notice if this infant is a normal baby or there is something wrong. So new parents should be very careful with their newborns babies. Why? Because they need to notice anything which is abnormal, anything which is out of normal, so that they can easily track and move along with how the child is growing. There are some people who have been trained to do that. There are some special hospitals and clinics which are handling babies who are born with mental health problems. We have special schools, we have special caregivers. There are others, they might use those babies or they might help those babies in a way that while they are growing up, they might turn up to be a normal person or they might turn up to be useful in the society. That's why you have special teachers, that's why we have special schools, we have special clinics, we have special doctors, we have nurses, and we have units. So these people, they'll be taken care of. The babies will be taken care of, including the parents. The parents need counseling. The parents need counseling to accept that our baby was born with either congenital disease or a condition whereby it's affecting the mental health. So the parents first need to accept, because there are some parents, they don't accept how the babies, they were born. They neglect the babies. They do other things which will harm the babies. Others, they hide the babies. So one, the parents need to be aware. They need to accept the fact that my baby is having a mental health problem. Two, the babies need to do a follow-up. They need to be taken for a follow-up in order to grow their mind and do actions according to how they are having the developmental stages. They have delay in some of the developmental stages. So there's a way they're being trained or they're being worked on with people who have the knowledge. Then with time, over the years, they'll come to adapt and become meaningful in the family, society, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Kasain, you have a question, please go ahead. Kasain, tunakusikia, endelea. Okay, Kasain is not around, but his question was, what is the correlation between nature and nurture in regards to mental health? What is the relationship between the two? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. I believe it's from Kasain Saibugu. So it's talking about nature and nurture. Nature on its original form is things which you found in the environment. That is nature. Nurture is things which influence a person from external source. That's why we call nurture. That's why you can hear you need to nurture these young people to become responsible citizens. It means there's an influence behind it. That's why we call nurture. Nature, these are things which we found them in their original state, nature. That's why people usually say, let the nature takes its course. They cannot say, let the nurture takes its course. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, members, it seems the questions are over, unless there is one last one, because there's a curfew to beat as we go home. I can't see any hand up, so it means everyone is satisfied for now. And in that way, then we have come to the end of the presentation. I would like to take this chance to thank you very much, Zedekiah. You actually volunteered for this. And this being a mental awareness month, it's good that we have had this presentation from you. I have personally learned a lot from your presentation and from the chats. I've been watching the chats from members. Members really appreciate this presentation, and even they have spoken it themselves. So in that way, we are really grateful for your presentation and time. For the members, we really appreciate your time. At the peak of it, we were 26, so that's a good number, because it's the first time we are holding this this kind of meeting amongst our group, and we hope to hold more of such in future. We'll be looking for volunteers to present on different topics, a topic you are comfortable in, so that we can slot you in to share your knowledge with the members. So with that, we are going to end the meeting. First of all, we are going to share the video, like I indicated. But I forgot to start recording from the beginning. I began recording from the middle. And so I will share what I have recorded for those who have missed, and even for references later. People asking, Zedekiah, will you be able to share the presentation?
No problem. I'll share the presentation.
Thank you very much. So with that, thank you very much once again, everyone, and to the speaker. And we hope to continue the discourse outside this platform so that we can make mental health a part of our life. Thank you very much. And that is the end of the meeting. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye.